Hello future tech leaders, I am Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A cloud foundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
The first thing is be the right type when you are choosing a field type or when you are choosing a field or a property. Make sure it is of the right type. That does 50% of the validation. If you want user input related to date, choose the date only format rather than using a text. If it's a normal text, the user can enter this. For example, the user can enter something like this. Whatever they like, isn't it? Right. I do not know if he is mentioning 1st of October or 10th of January. I do not know that. Maybe some people would enter first month, first day, or some year. It depends upon the period they are there and then the time formats they follow depending upon the geography and sort of. It's always better to have our type for the data that you are going to handle. Always try to choose the right type. That does your basic validation. Make sure your data fits to the business logic. Write never request data that is not in the context of your application. Let it only fit the business logic. Do not gather some unnecessary information, right, which is not used in your application. Better don't request it from the user. Suppose, as we are dealing with recruitment here, do I need the spouse's medical history in the recruitment run? No, not required. Maybe once after the recruitment run and it is selected on board, then I may need the details. But at this context of recruitment, I don't need the spouse's medical history. Do not request for it and be restricted to possible values. When you have some options or choices, let the user be restricted to those values only. Either provide a drop-down, a radio choice and autocomplete, but let the user be restricted to those values. If you give it like a normal text box, they can enter anything they want. For example, your reporting location. You are collecting from the user. You only have 4 options for reporting locations: Hyderabad, Chennai, Mumbai and Delhi. For the radio choice, the user had to select from one of those only or be to drop them anything. He can only select one of those. But if you put it as a text box, he can enter anything. Any international city could be used. Make sure you try to restrict them to possible values. Once you start looking at the different kinds of validations, the first level of validation is on the property level. Property level as a selecting correct type of property. That is what we have done far. We chose the field and we chose the corresponding field type. That's the first or the basic level of validation that we could go for. After which, I'm just going to run the case. Now on this, get personal info on this particular screen. All this sort of information like first name is their last name, date of birth. I have chosen the correct property type. For date, for date of birth, I have chosen the date type as the field type, which is appropriate. But date of birth, when I observe, I can give something in the future also. But is that valid? That sort of validation has still to be applied. This serves my basic purpose. That's good. But further, I have to refine validation. And also suppose first name. Look at the number of characters I can give on the first name, and all special characters are also possible. All numbers are also possible. Is that? No, you should be. It's only should be a letter. You can validate this, right? And that too, you need to restrict the size of the first name, the number of characters, because if it is this huge, it cannot accommodate in my database. Right. Because when I define the columns and all for the first name, a maximum of 32 characters or 60 characters I'll put. It should match the database requirement. If I give like 100 and 120 characters here, it doesn't make sense. I should restrict those things. And even when I go back to my date of birth, today is 11th, right? I can give 10th and the system is accepting. Is it like, can you give a job to 1 day old? No, that too you have to restrict for 18 plus. I think, isn't it still, or 16 plus? Depending upon the job profile, you're doing whatever. You need to have a minimum age restriction that has to be followed. Correct. These values or these validations, they are sort of, we may have different methods to validate this. Let us see how this is possible and where can we validate this data. Let me go back to the recruitment. I'm going to open the process now. On this connector, get personal info. The configure view that I see where I build in all my fields, field types, and all that is converted as a section rule in the backend. Just like how process is converted as a flow and your steps are converted as shapes. Similarly, the configure view is converted as a section. To view that section, I cannot directly view it from the App Studio. What I'll do is I'll open this process on the Dev Studio. Sometimes we need to switch back and forth between App and Dev Studios. This process, I'm just trying to open it from the Dev Studio perspective to make changes on these values. This is how it looks. Once I click on this connector, I have something called as a flow action. You don't need to worry much about these terminologies. It's a complete dev perspective. If I clear this, I'm planning to do sys-a. But first need to clear this one. What I do is I click on the flow action, and once I open it, I was talking about a section, right? The configure view that you work on will bring a section here. There you go, all your UI elements that you've added on the screen. Here, a lot more validations and a lot more control could be achieved. You click on the flow connector and then you come here. I clicked on the flow action in the connector. That opens screen of flow action. Inside which there is a section. Here you see there is a section. Open this, I click on this. You see a section is opening. To be a decisioning consultant, you told you need to do CSA as the base, isn't it? You need to do it, right? Is it more of a development side of consultation? It's like you need to have a lot of in-depth knowledge of the system, isn't it? Correct. Because they just get very mainstream, directly to the decisioning concepts only. The base or the background has to be built in from your BA is not enough for that. You need to do CSA. CSA would help because it would be more of a technical thing. Better having a CSA would help. Though you have background of like development, still you have to have CSA. In the sense you will not understand it. Development as in from Pega. Not Pega, I'm saying general. Still you have the Pega experience in development. Because the terminology is a lot more stuff. That's true. You train on that. Decisioning. I take up a but these days it's more of a CSS, CSS and BA. CSL also you take it. I do take up CSA and CSS. I think CSS, you still have to have experience working, isn't it? Otherwise no point in taking CSS, at least for 6 months minimum. If you want CSS 1 year of it is right. Yes, just getting back to where we left. Here's your flow action on the connector. Once I open it, here is your section. Get personal info. Once I open the section here, this is how it looks. All these things that I've added on the screen, they have come up as they have come up on my section. Here you can play a lot within these sections here. Now for example, let me click on the first name. And all the fields that I've added, they turn out to be properties. There's a complete you can see a difference between the terminology used in the App Studio to the terminology used in the Dev Studio. There we call them fields, field types. Here we call them properties. Right. And on the presentation tab, here you can define your minimum number of characters or the maximum number of characters. These can handle minimum of 3, the maximum of 15 characters. Yes, for the first name. And similarly for the last one, you can define your own conditions. For example, the date of birth. If I click on the date of birth here now, I should go to presentations. Here you see, currently the display mode for date and time is a text input plus a calendar. But if you want it to be something else, maybe if you want it to be a drop down, you can have it. And for each of it calendar, you have different options here, whether you want a spinner or you want a drop down. You want to allow text entry or not. And what is the display range next 10 years and the past 10 years? But as it is a date of birth, I don't need next 10 years. And obviously previous 10 years also wouldn't work for my business scenario because I need at least people in the range of maybe 18 to 40 or 18 to 50 or depending upon the higher range you look, you can change your previous years. This is for experience you're putting. Sorry, which one? No, this is for the date of birth. You can't put upper limit, isn't it? Might be retirement age. Depending upon the job profile, probably if you are trying to get in between. Why did you put it should be? It should start from 18 or 17, isn't it? No. This 0 means the next how many years? Suppose this represents your calendar. Do you want future years to be shown on your calendar? If yes, no, maybe in the future, but I'm dealing with date of birth. You're putting it 0 because you don't want at all the future dates. I don't need any future years, I would just disable it. And also the previous years also, maybe I'll put it to 40 years. Assuming my upper limit for this particular job is 40 years. My system will go back until now, it is 2020. It will go back to 1981, not beyond that. You're also looking at some retirement or some senior positions. You can go until 60, likewise, depending upon your business requirement. And do you want to disable weekends? No, this is not a business calendar. It is date of birth. No, this is date of birth. Anybody can be born in India. You should not tell that if you're born on a Sunday, I'm not going to. I don't want to. And if you want any specific time zones or not, you can have it. Likewise, on each property, you will have different kinds of controls available. These, in the technical terms, we call them controls. This is more of a control-based validation that you are doing. Initially, the first one is based on the property, the field. Second one is on the control. Then we have one more. Let me go back to the App Studio. This one is again, we could do this on the App Studio. I'm just going to save this. I'll just try to save and run to make sure that I'm getting my whatever. The validation that I've given for first name and date of birth are working or not. Let me check. Let me see one more. First name. What is the maximum characters? What is minimum number of characters? 3. Let me enter. Let me enter some things that I'm going to add in. Here, do you see any future years? Oh, is it not saved or what? I think it seems like this is not saved. Did I save the section? Let me open the App Studio once again. Let me just make sure all of this is saved. Is the change still available or is it? Maximum characters available. Date of birth. Looks good. Save your section and save the flow action and then also your flow. It's easy to forget, isn't it here? Because you saved. Now I'll go back to the apps. It says record is still, which means no new changes are available. Now I'm sure that the changes have been updated. We'll see if it reflects or not. Let me just refresh once. Let me proceed further. This time let me check. You see, the field should be at least 3 characters long. Where did this come from? From the validation that you have given. Now, if I do enter something more than, for example, let me go the date of birth. I cannot proceed on the date of birth after today. And what about? Yes, I see all the earlier years. Until 6 years I can see my validation. But if the user selects something like this 1st July 2021, it is a great because it is a valid past date. We have not set any limit, isn't it? As for your business scenario, this will not work. For control level validation has brought your search narrowed a little bit, but we can still further down your or refine your validation. Correct. I don't want to give a job to a person who's 1 year or 2 years. My minimum age limit is 21. For example, in the past dates, I cannot restrict 2021 until 2000. I cannot restrict that. Right. Using my limits. I cannot do it. What should I do? Then you can go back to your case and do further refining, isn't it? Correct. Combination of what you choose, whether it is on the property or on the control or the approach we are doing now, what we are going to do now, it depends upon your business scenario. Not every time I need all the 3 levels of validation. It might be. If you're applying for a holiday, then this will not. Correct. For a holiday, future dates. You might have to set 1 year. You can restrict after 1 year because nobody can apply for. There might be company policies where you can't apply more than a year ahead. Something like that. Here comes your one more level of validation. This is a validation rule that we are creating. This further refines our data validation. Here you can add conditions. Like, for example, my job. You as well. I can see now. Yes, let me use the date of birth. And what is my criteria here? If the date of birth is after, probably if it is after 1/1/2000. I will show an error message saying that this date of birth is not valid. What is the message that you want to show? Something like, or I'll put a message saying age should be greater than 20. That was. You can add in multiple conditions here. And these are like form level validations. It would be up for the complete form. And on the first screen, what else you have? Maybe phone number is there. Phone number. If it is empty, if it is blank, show him a message. Please enter. Right. Some of that. These are more like form level validations that we come across, and you can add in multiple conditions also. Or if you have some things like PIN codes or zip codes, you will own list of it. Right. On the list of available PIN codes and all. If it is not any of that in the list, you can use these things in the list, not in the list and all. Let me submit. We'll see how this works. And this is a form level validation. It would be initiated only if I submit the form. Only after form submission, I'll be able to see these validations. What do you mean by submitting the form? Submit as it wants you to proceed. You click next or you click submit. Oh, submit in the sense here you meant. Oh, no, not here. The actual transaction. The other validations, if you observe. But the first name, we got the number of characters as a validation. That is uplift as soon as you enter the first name. You don't need to submit the form. Oh, I got it now. You mean this is when you submit the form. It will not give it as soon as you enter the phone number. You have to finish this page, and when you click on save or something, it will take the date of birth if you enter after 2001. And after you submit the form, it will throw you an error that this is not a valid date. We had done data types, isn't it? Like we had done the entire page. We had put them in that also. We can individually then refine those fields, isn't it? We have to go to that actual data type, and then you need to refine individual fields. You can do that. Wherever that data type is applied, you will have those validations come in picture. You can't do that individually where you call. You have to go to the actual where you have packaged it. In both the ways we can still do it. Here the one of it. No, this way you can only do it for the single values. One, isn't it? If you call the page properties, you can do it. Maybe we will see when you're reusing it. Can you do it? Yes, because, for example, you have a date of birth field in your data type, but date of birth for recruitment and for onboarding might have different criteria. Correct. In that case, you do it separately on each of the individual case types. Maybe a common validation will not work there. You call the data type, and in that form, you will make the changes for that particular. Correct. Exactly. Right. Now suppose first name, I'm given only 2 characters. As soon as I enter this, I got the validation checked. But for date of birth, let me give something after. The system doesn't show anything. It considers just like this, but when you submit, let's see if this is throwing any error. Is it just continuing? Yes, we've got an error. It says age should be greater than 20 and also phone number is empty. It says enter a valid phone number. Until or unless these two are addressed, I cannot proceed with the form. I cannot go ahead and submit the form. Both of these have to be addressed because I've entered a phone number because I thought phone number is not a mandatory field. It is not given as mandatory. I just skipped it. I try to submit. In this case, that star symbol doesn't occur. You will have it. You can have that as well. That works for the very. I mean, you can do it on the configured view. Oh, you can do that. But initially, if you remember what we thought was having, here now you have set the validation, isn't it? Still, it doesn't come as a star. No, that doesn't come as a star. That comes only when you are using this as a mandatory field in the configure. We chose it not to do because we wanted to move further. Now when unless I address all these issues, I'll not be able to proceed. Let me change it. And in fact, as this is the next field, I can also go ahead and change it. Let me submit now once. Those are successful. All the levels on the property level, then control level, and then form level. Only then you will be. This is how you will be able to restrict the users from entering some random values into our application. Are we good with validations? Any questions far? Right. Then can we go for a break? I mean, do you want us to continue the session or should we stop or take a break, then come back? I think it's good to take a break, isn't it? This server is running on the background and it is still It is showing the threads like it's not anyways throwing, showing that the server has started. It's still running or what? Server started will show you on the very top. The first 2-3 lines you will get that started. Now you mean this would have started and there's no issues. I can launch my. Yes, I never saw in the 2-3. I went to the top. Oh, waiting for the server to start. It's come done. We started. Now I can go ahead and launch, isn't it? The user. Thank you. House, like the important topics we have covered to rest of the ones, that the important ones are sourcing your data types. Then we have a report. We have some declarative rules. Then you think to you and stuff. I think the 50-60% of no, whatever comes on the exam, we have covered it far. No worry. The 18th, whatever we can do, we can do. And then after that I can come back and I'll have the questions or we can take if you need. If the time is not covered, we can take it later, isn't it? We can do that. Log in here. I'll click on the login. It's asking the launch in which it's a browser, isn't it? Whichever you prefer browser. Is there any preference for bigger or is it any browser? Anything should be good. Which one you use? Edge or Chrome? I use Edge because it's Microsoft. The login page has come. Now for me to log in. First, I need to create one, isn't it? I'll see you the next weekend. Have a good week. Thank you. Thank you. And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.